Hey, we're back. We're going to be looking at SOXQ. So this one is the semiconductor index that we chose to follow. Uh, this one, if you can't tell, this one's a fairly new index. It looks like it started in about June of 21. And so we don't have a full set of data like we have in the other indexes and other stocks, just again because it's so new. I think right away the thing that's interesting to me at least is the fact that even with all the good news about semiconductors, primarily focused on some of the bigger players like Nvidia and AMD, and we could throw Intel in there. Um, and again, if you're unfamiliar with the news that was announced last week, apparently a lot of those companies, such as Nvidia and AMD, it was announced that all the stockpiling of inventory that they've built up, mainly during these like supply chain shortages, and all of a sudden, uh, I so going back to the story, right in this time where everything was like climbing rapidly, they started just building up inventory because the supply chains were just leading to losses in sales because they didn't have the product. So when the demand was very high, they didn't have the supply, so they started stockpiling inventory, and then all of a sudden, once they built up the inventory, uh, the demand just disappeared. You know, people still wanted it, but not in the quantities that they wanted before, and that of course led to a lot of stocks in the industry going down. Um, and one, I mean, it was more reasons than that, but one of the factors in its kind of decline was the fact that all these companies now had large quantities of inventory that was just stuck on the balance sheet and they needed to get rid of it. Well, last week they announced all that surplus of inventory that they were kind of stockpiling, they're expecting that to now be back to normal. So there's not going to be this massive stockpile of inventory on their balance sheets anymore. It, I mean, it's still going to be there today, but they're expecting within the next quarter that that will flatten out to what we saw previously. So they won't have this surplus of inventory anymore. They can start generating new inventory, and it should just lead to overall good, better times for the semiconductor industry. And so, yeah, this was expected to see a nice green bar here. It's just the way I saw movement in some of the other stocks, like Nvidia and AMD, which I know is a sizable position in this index fund. I I just would have thought this would have been higher. Like, um, this one previously, I marked this one out as a sell slash short opportunity, and we last checked this one about a month ago, and it was at $23 when we checked, and we have that sell point at 24. It seems like, well, right now we're at 24, so it's actually like on the number that we were saying you should sell out of this one. Um, we'll kind of see how it plays out exactly, because now all of a sudden there's good news and maybe people want to get into them more. Uh, Not sure. But again, because I've shifted my kind of men- my my focus in terms of this, where I just want to buy things at good deals as opposed to making a quick buck. Um, I don't. I'm just thinking about Nvidia and AMD. I just feel like those two are so overpriced for today. But man, just I don't know what to believe anymore. Like, do I want to believe what I see in the numbers, or or not? But those two, I just feel like they're so overvalued. It's just how far will they pull back is the thing. And I just feel like the economy right now and the hype in those stocks is just it's so high that even if it does pull back, it's probably not going to pull back the way it should. Uh, And I guess what I mean it by that is, like, right now, Nvidia and AMD, I know, are trading for, uh, they have like PE ratios of 100 plus. I think they're both at like 110. I think Nvidia's at like 110 and AMD's at 105. And I know from tracking those companies that yes, they both are overvalued in price to earnings, but they also had this high growth, so it made sense. That said, Nvidia historically was trading at like 60, a PE ratio of 60. And so now it's like double that. So it's just bananas to me. But at the same time, they're doing a lot of things with AI. They're making deals with Google and Microsoft. So maybe it does make sense today for that. But then there's AMD at they're at 105, and AMD historically was trading at like a PE ratio of 40. So they 2.5 times their regular PE ratio. Like that one is just insane to me. It's just I really I cannot think of what to make of that. Um, I really it would make sense to me to short those ones or sell it right now, uh, thinking that it's going to pull back. We'll look at it. I'll need to circle back on that one. Probably I'll probably circle back on those ones first, if not prior to going through all these stocks, because those ones just they're making me think. But we'll get back to this. So this one, it looks like we're in this uptrend now, and it's actually like consistent with the higher lows. It looks like it's just stepping up. Uh, it stepped up massively from about 20 to 21. Okay, so it's like $2, but still, for a stock like this, that's a lot. So it stepped up $2, which again, that's not a lot, but $2 for this stock is like what 10%. So that's pretty big. Then it kind of traded sideways for about four or like 2 months. Then it stepped again from 21 to 23, 24, and now it's trading sideways again. And so we'll kind of see how this one plays out. Maybe it's going to continue to climb here in the coming months. So this might be a decent time to buy. Um, I think for me personally, as I'm looking at this one, keeping the uptrend in mind, um, I think it's a little high for right now. Uh, and so what I would like to do with this one is like next week, if it can pull back to like 22, close to 23, yeah, I'd take a chance on it, see if I can get it then. Over the weeks to come, if it wants to keep trading sideways, but it kind of still keeps climbing up, um, anywhere between like 23. So that's kind of what I'm going to mark this one as. Similar to another index that I did, I'm going to put two numbers in here, and I'm going to mark this one as pink, just so it kind of pops out to me also. Um, and I'll share it with you in just a second here. And I'm just going to copy this note down here that it's in a slight uptrend. So we have SOXQ right here. It's currently at about 24. My original sell point was 24, and that's still kind of holding up based on this line. It does not want to cross it for whatever reason. It gets close, but it doesn't want to cross it. So we're about to meet a point and see what happens. I think I guess I don't have enough experience to really call it for certain. But I mean, obviously there's two ways it could go. It could either climb up or fall down. I think we will have an answer soon enough where maybe in another couple weeks, maybe a month, it's going to have to choose a path. And the path is either it's going to go through the red line, uh, and if if it goes through that point, that might begin to start acting as a support line for us. And that might be our new, hey, we should maybe actually want to accumulate shares at about 24. And then, of course, the alternative is it could get fiercely rejected from there. It's going to hit this point in about a month, and a decision is going to get made. And I think, again, I think the more likely scenario is it's going to get rejected. But then again, the good news with the semiconductors, uh, in all honesty, I feel like SOXQ, I think the more likely scenario for this index is it's going to continue the uptrend. Uh, Again, that's just with my limited knowledge. I think it will continue the uptrend, and it would make sense to accumulate this one as it continues to rise. I think it'd be smart to wait for it to pull back a little bit to get to the purple line, wherever that might be in the coming weeks. But I think this one is going to continue to trend up. Uh, of course, the alternative where I was going with that is it's going to reach this point in a couple weeks, maybe a month or month and a half, something like that, and it's going to realize it just doesn't have the legs, and it's going to pull back all the way to like the fair value line, and maybe that's going to be our buy point. Um, but for right now, yeah, I'm just going to I'll be patient with this one, see if it can pull back to at least, say 23 in the next couple weeks, and if I can catch it, I'll pick up a couple shares in there, because again, semiconductors, I think this one's a good one to own for the next like 5 years roughly, because everything about the semiconductor market is that this whole total addressable market for this industry is meant to double in the next 5 years, from like $500 billion industry to $1 trillion industry. So it kind of makes sense to just kind of pick it up when you can, with that knowledge in mind. It's just making smarter purchases. So hopefully I can get through a lot more of these over the coming days, and once I actually go through it all, um, then I can pick what are the best places to put and invest money into. But right now we'll just kind of wait. We're gonna keep going through stocks, and we'll see how it plays out in the next week. We'll see how it plays out in the next week. It looks like aftermarket, it did go down at 1%, which for this company or this index, that's only 27 cents, so not a big deal. But we would like this one to pull back to at least 23 before actually, um, starting a position in this one. But again, let me know what your thoughts are, and leave a comment in below, and I'd be happy to read that. But otherwise, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.